Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. It's all about Mornis. That's right. Hashtag Mornis Project. And we're joined by Sabastian, Sid, the dynamic duo that is helping us conquer life and coaching us through to, give us and help us live that best life possible. So first and foremost, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Starting off with Sabastian, tell us a little about yourself, and then let's introduce Sid back into the mix.
Brilliant. Good morning, Jill. It's wonderful to be here. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Mornis Culture.
Yes.
That's what we share. Bina and I, this is what we do day in and day out. We share Mornis culture. Of course, we make every effort to live in Mornis culture also.
Yes.
And that's what we do between the two of us, right, Bina?
Exactly. This is what we do every single day. At least this is what I just try to do that. And I always call myself, I'm a privileged one to have his company. And of course, I get a chance and a privilege to get all these things just first and experience with him. This is so anomalous. It is actually living my dream life. So thank you so much, sir, for being here.
Yes.
And thank you so much, Jill. You're a wonderful host. You have a very present and, of course, very positive personality.
Well, thank you. It's always great to work with amazing people. Nobelia.org is the website. Go to their Facebook page.
Very easy.
We're going to talk about his books, about the way of impeccability and Mornis.
Yes.
Where do we start today? Go ahead.
So in terms of, you mentioned way of impeccability, and that's how Bina and I first met each other. Way of impeccability is a life change and a self change program. It's very comprehensive. It's very complete. It's a minimum of 4 months. It usually takes a year because you are truly looking to change everything about yourself. And that's how Bina came into the picture. When I first was putting it together, I asked on Facebook, I said, hey, I'm looking for beta testers. Well, post-beta testers, because it was kind of already there, it was almost ready. So that's what I called it, post-beta testers. And Bina said, okay, I'd like to do this. And anyway, so it's a long story. So that's where Bina started. That's where Bina came. And so then Bina did Way of Impeccability and really just immersed into it and absorbed it completely and utterly. And and I said to Bina, if you want, you can just come all the time. You don't have to just come. It's set up to you come twice a week. You come on Zoom for 2 hours at a time. I said, just come whenever you want to, because you share my passion for the learning and the growing. And Bina, what happened then?
I took it literally, because I call myself, I'm a big opportunist, and I really encourage people to be an opportunist. Why not? When the universe is actually just providing you some opportunity, why you will not grab it? So be appropriate and grab it. And I just grab it with my teeth and claws, and I said, okay, I really appreciate myself that I did, because it really changes my life.
Yeah.
So this is something very profound habit. Before we start, and still will go into detail, I was asking you again last time when we were on this podcast with Jill, that what are the impacts, what are the benefits of doing Way of Impeccability? I really want you to continue, because I know that because Way of Impeccability is so huge, so profound. You can talk about it, of course, for years. We are continuously discussing and improving and all. And implementing.
It's a living program. It evolves.
Yes, absolutely. But the benefits for of course, like myself, average people, what are the benefits of Way of Impeccability? What are the impacts? In which area of life it is going to really benefit someone who is keen to do? And before we go, still just want to say that, because in the beginning, Jill mentioned something very interesting. She says that, okay, to conquer life.
Yes.
I have seen and experienced that in Way of Impeccability, we not only conquer, we actually create a new life.
There you go.
And I'm not saying in words only, because I have created my own life. I was a computer analyst in my past, and I was doing nothing for 2 years, more than 2 years, and I was doing nothing. I was completely in dark, completely lost, full of resentments against something happened in my life, and I was holding on as my identity. Oh yes, I was holding my badge of being a victim of something horrible, and I was holding on it. But
Yeah.
really, I have created my life. And that's why we have a very wonderful
Correct.
story of Sophie and the
Yes.
philosopher and the Sophie the
Yeah.
sophisticated, so we call it. This is the story, real life story of me. I was sitting in
Yeah.
Pakistan
Aw.
in my
Yeah.
room, not going out for 2 years, doing nothing, and I had no idea what I'm going to do with my life anymore. And from that scratch, I actually came out. And because of way of impeccability and him, I really created a new life for myself. So I can say it that it is actually creating a new life.
Right. So
So
now
yes,
you
please.
ask, right, what is
Yes,
it? It's not just a new life, but it is the
yes,
life that you really want. And not
yes.
necessarily externally, but it
Mm-hmm.
starts with the internal. So it is connecting to
Absolutely.
who you really
Mm-hmm.
are, not just who
Exactly.
you really wish to be.
Right.
Because
Exactly.
when you ask people, if you really start to get into people a little bit more, right, Jill, if I say to you, Jill, is goodness important to you? What do you say?
Yes.
Yes.
Is integrity
Exactly. Like,
important
yeah.
to you?
Yes,
Well,
absolutely.
duh. Is the ability to have and be and act with integrity, is that important to you?
Yes,
Yes.
it is.
It's not just integrity, or I've already said integrity is important, but what about the ability to act with integrity, or the
True.
Yes.
ability to act with impeccability, the
Mm-hmm.
ability to act with sobriety, sensibility, the ability to
Yes.
be discerning,
True.
to have the quality of discernment. Discernment is so crucial because we go through life and we just tap the surface. Bina just was, we were chatting when we came on earlier this morning. We come on Zoom with each other every day, right? So I said,
Yes.
Bina, what have you been thinking about? And Bina said, I've been thinking about queuing. Now, queuing, as you know, being in media, right? You get a cue from your producer, and you cue with the introduction. Exactly,
Yes.
right? But life cues us all the time,
Ah,
and we
Yes.
cue ourselves. We are cued by circumstance. We are cued by events. Now,
Absolutely.
a very strong cueing would be triggering, right? I mean, that's
wow.
like,
Yes.
but queuing is much more subtle, at least in terms of way of impeccability. And this is a term from our dictionary of power. So it's capital C queuing to to imply that yes, it's based on the usual queuing, like you have queuing
Yeah.
in the arts, in theater, and media, but queuing in life. If somebody comes in to, like if I come onto the show and I'm all grumpy, you may not say anything, but I'm cueing you in a sense that,
Yeah.
well, I'm in a bad mood, right? Uh, so that's a very subtle cueing, but it can go a lot further than that, because we can cue via our expectations, via our assumptions, via our beliefs, via our motivations, via our intents. So many things that cue us, and we just respond. If you look at most people in terms of how they relate, right, they are have been cued by the entire culture that they're in, right? And this is
Wow.
why we are talking about mourner's culture, because we don't even realize it, but we cued in terms of the hierarchy of
Mm-hmm.
the superiority paradigm. So
Paradigm.
always we're looking at, and look how you said, to conquer life. That's completely a superiority paradigm thing, conquering, right? Dominating. I mean, I understand how you mean it, but look how the
Of
word
course.
is so
True.
subtle.
True.
Because if I'm conquering, by implication, somebody's getting dominated,
Yeah,
something's
yeah. I
getting
don't
less.
I don't like that. Yeah.
Right, you see, exactly. But now you didn't mean it in that way,
Of
but
course.
you just used the word because it's a
Yeah.
cued word from our culture, right? So you were cued
Yes.
by the culture to use that,
Yeah.
and it's meant positively. But if we rather say, "Hey, I'm looking to connect to my mourners, I'm looking to share mourners, I'm looking to collaborate," now it's a whole other cueing, because now I'm implying that I want to do things with people, not to people,
Yes.
Interesting.
right?
Yes.
Right? So
Yes.
now this is part of way of impeccability and mourners counts. But just to start, the mourners comes a little bit later. Just to start in way of impeccability, it is simply a mechanism for refining and honing and connecting to and practicing and
Mm-hmm.
developing skills, abilities, and competencies of your character. Character. Yeah. Personality, that's easy to acquire, right? I mean, we have multiple personalities. We act one way with children, we are another way with old people, and sometimes we act differently with men and women. I try not to treat them all as people, but you see my point. We have different personalities, well, different times. I'm in a good mood and I'm the life of the party, and the other day I'm very sober and serious and collected and thoughtful, whatever. But that's personality. Now, personality and character, two different things. And it's very important to understand this decision. It is absolutely critical. Personality is like your clothes. You wear as appropriate, right? And sometimes you wear something ridiculous, and other times, like Bina, you wear something very smart and wonderful, and more sober. It's quite wonderful. You look great, Bina, and Jill always looks good, right? But that's personality. Your character is that which is in you, which stays the same. It is what is connected to your conscience. It is real, true you. Yes. When we strip off all of supposed to, and we get to and should, then we get to real us. Right? How much of our behavior is cued by supposed to and should and must be? Yeah.
Much.
Yeah.
Almost all of our behavior, we don't even realize it. We hear these things all the time. Oh, I say, watch on TV, something happens. Oh, you must have been so devastated.
Yeah.
No, it's an accident. It's not devastating. Stuff happens in life. Why must I be devastated when it's an accident? Stuff happens, right? And that's important. So that also brings that word stuff, right? I can say another word for it that starts with an S, but will be PG, right? Right, in life. So stuff happens, right? I'm saying this. Now, you said, what is it that, Bina, you asked the question, what is it that people get out of doing something like Way of Impeccability? Well, there's nothing really like Way of Impeccability, nothing else like it. We have many, many, many things in Way of Impeccability which are paradigm shifting, which are disruptive technologies in the field that we're in, that are very different, right? But what do you get out of it? Just in a very simple way, you learn how to get your stuff together, or you can use that other S word if you like, which some people typically say more, right? That's very important. How many times have you heard, you know what, I really need to get myself together, or my S together, right? They say this on a regular basis, but they don't quite ever get around to doing so. Yeah. How many of us have said this? We've said it over and over and over again, and then we sort of more or less, but we know we don't really have it. We don't really, we're just kind of faking it as we go along, hoping it's going to make it. But we don't deal with the real issue, which is us. We deal with our careers and our children and our status and our success and wealth and all of the stuff. We don't deal with real me. We don't deal with real me. That's the critical point. If you aren't in alignment with your conscience, if you're not in alignment with who you truly wish to be, then everything is going to be diminished. And yes, you may have that momentum, that motivation of pursuing all of your external things. But as we all know, midlife comes and we end up with midlife crisis, right? How many times have you not seen midlife crisis? Now, what exactly is midlife crisis?
Oh, gosh, there's a lot of them, right? What would you say?
Right, exactly. But in essence, it is when you have gotten what you thought you wanted, and then you come to realize, this is not doing it for me. This isn't cutting it. Yeah? Isn't that what midlife crisis is? Because what you've pursued isn't truly rewarding. Only when you connect to your real deep self and you are able to get your stuff together and you are in command of yourself, you own yourself, you like who you are, then it makes absolutely not one tiny little iota of difference what it is that you are doing externally.
Wow.
Totally
powerful stuff.
Exactly.
Got me thinking here today. Go ahead.
Sorry, please continue.
No,
say
go
again,
ahead.
Jill. I didn't hear what you said. You said something.
Oh no, you got me enthralled. This is like deep conversation. This is good stuff.
Oh yeah. This is what we do. What we do. We go not just deep, but we go all the way. Yep. We go to the very, very heart of things, to the bottom, to the end. Right? Go ahead, Bina.
Just want more, a bit more clarification on that. That understanding who you really truly are doesn't mean that what you are doing right now, or what you have already achieved, or what you have already pursued is going to be a completely different thing. Because this is the mostly idea I have seen that, okay, when we say that, okay, just connect with yourself, with your character, people assume that, okay, now what I was doing throughout my life, like for decades, like my business or my job or my career, anything, they assume that I have to give up on this.
No. Good point, Bina.
No, you don't need to. So this is the clarification. I really wish that, okay, this has to be very clear, please.
Right. So here's the key, right? Way of impeccability. It's not a belief system. I need to emphasize this absolutely clearly, right? And no belief required. This is absolutely important. Everything is based on self-evident sensibilities. That's it. Self-evident sensibility. It's self-evident. It's like duh, in other words. That's what we strive for. Duh is in our dictionary of power. Very powerful. That's what I'm hoping for. I'm sharing, and then the participant is like, wait, and you can see all the gears.
Like, wait, what's that?
You can hear those little clicking sounds of everything falling into place, right?
Yeah, I heard some
it
sounds
takes a little while. Right, exactly. And then they're
what
like,
did you do?
Holy crikey, Moses! Like, wow, okay, all right, I get you now. Oh yeah, but it's so obvious. It's so duh. But I never thought of it. And then they feel a bit bad, and then you can see their faces. They're like,
what?
But I never thought of it before. I said, well, yes. And then I always say this, that's our job. Being and I as facilitators, our job is to make the obvious obvious. Why? Because the obvious is not obvious until it is obvious. Yes. It wasn't obvious that moment before it became obvious. It was not obvious. So don't feel bad. Is what it is, right? And that's the point that we're looking for. Because when it's a duh, when it is so gloriously, overwhelmingly, just thrillingly, fantastically obvious, that means you get it. Yeah, it's not always so. Sure, who maybe I'll bring on as a guest at some point too. Also a participant of Way of Impeccability, who's now a life coach, and she started from a real deep point, like as bad as you can go, right? And her life completely changed as well. And she can talk about this when she comes. It's very powerful stuff. But she will tell you that when we first actually met her, Bina and I have never met in person, even though she's a bestie, right, Bina?
Yes. Oh. Yes. I'm just living in a completely other part of the world, really.
And how did the two of you meet?
Well, via Way of Impeccability, Bina came as the beta tester and just never left.
I just saw an ad on my Facebook. I don't know, we were not friends. I just somehow, his ad on Facebook just came that, okay, so, yeah, we are looking for postgraduate. I had no idea what philosophy is because I was a computer system analyst, and also that, okay, I was assisting at Arts Council Karachi. I was assisting the director there. So that was my life. And I had no idea what philosophy is. But somehow I just said, okay, yeah, because that was the day my job was ended. And I said, okay, so let's give it a try. And the first meeting was 3 hours. 3 hours.
And what did he do?
Of course.
And he was talking and everything was spewing from my head from here and there.
Well, we spent 3 hours.
Oh my gosh.
Being patient. Or at least I did.
And most of the things literally flowing over my mind. But there was
the connection issues.
No, not only the connection issue, but also the understanding issues. And of course, a lot of the stuff was new for me. But one thing was very obvious, that what he's saying is somehow making sense and connecting already existing idea. They were just randomly put together, and they were not connecting to each other. Because like everyone else, I was reading a lot of memes on internet, and of course, like, yes, this is motivational, this is good, this is positive. But everything was independently just sitting in my mind, not working together for me. And what Way of Impeccability did, it actually just made vital connections to everything. And now everything was like sparkling. And it was like, oh my God, now they are working for me. Now every motivational meme is working for me. I know how to actually incorporate this in my life. and someone asked me that, okay, what do you get out of it? The first benefit of doing wave impeccability was having a piece of being.
Yes.
And that is really life
Yes.
changing. Really,
Yes.
really. So this is how
And
we met. So it's a big
yeah,
story.
piece of being very crucial. And another participant came, somebody who saw what we're doing, and they came on Zoom just to find out more and all that. And they asked Bina, as a participant who's now done way of impeccability, what did you get out of it? And Bina said, piece of being. I said, oh, I want that. Sign me up.
Uh-huh.
That was
like
like,
that.
duh, right there.
Very fun. But I want to add about how we got together first. That very, very first Zoom call was Bina being apologetic and awkward and feeling bad and uncomfortable. Why? Because her connection kept on dropping.
Yes.
Dropping. It was just, but it was the universe. It was attunement. Why? Because for 3 hours, Bina saw me actually being patient. She saw
Wow.
real patience in
Yes.
action. In other words, I'm not just talking about stuff. I live what I share, right? And this is very important. So
I was
this
about to
was,
throw my laptop out of window
yeah,
because it was
yeah.
so irritating. But he
It
was
made a big
smiling.
impact on Bina. Yeah.
And then he was just smiling and keep continuing where we left. Again, coming back to the same point, continuing. And I was amazed by the patience, the level of patience
Yeah,
and level of discernment and
yeah,
care. How a
yeah.
person can just sit for
And
three
the
hours
joy.
just for you? Yes, of
Yeah,
course. Of course.
yeah.
So
Well,
that was amazing.
right. Everybody has moreness to them. And we, a part of way of impeccability is, like I said, it's training our ability to be discerning. Yes. And to pay attention and to be able to have awareness, like Jill, in your job. Like now, see, I glance at the clock there. We have to be aware of the overview, right? And time is a very
Always.
important
Yes.
overview. Always, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And but we
Got to be
want this
present.
in life also, not just to have a time awareness, but to have an intent awareness. If you get caught up in your daily thing, your immediate stuff, oh, I've got to do this, I've got to do this, but you forget your overview, which your overview, hey, I want to work on my patience. I want to work on being more impeccable. I want to
Mm-hmm.
work on having more discernment. I want to work on expanding my and enhancing my awareness. I want to work on mood management. I want to, yes, that's part of way of impeccability, where you learn to choose your moods. Holy moly, yes. But you can forget. So you have to keep that overview to say, what am I doing? What am I doing? What am I doing? And connect to your bigger picture. What am I doing? Not just the immediate now. What am I doing? If you want to teach your children something really, really valuable, get them into this habit of asking, what am I doing? And asking it in all contexts, not just what am I doing? Yes, I'm drawing a picture. Yes, but also I'm training my art skills. I'm training my ability to be creative, to be thoughtful, to experiment, to do things, whatever it is, right? When they realize there are layers to what you are doing, change their whole lives, right? You get
Yes.
that multiple perspective shifting. And
And
when
how
you
to
take
do
Absolutely.
it all
that?
the way
This
to
is the
yeah,
answer way of impeccability
yeah,
actually provides. How to do all these
exactly,
things.
exactly. And one of the objectives of way of impeccability is to get you to be where you are in such a position that death is
Yes.
no longer a stressful issue.
Yes.
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 Time for a
Yeah,
water
big
break. All
question.
right, Bina.
Right. That's no problem. So this is a big point, right?
Yes.
Because most of us are afraid of death. Why? Because we don't have our stuff together. We don't have peace of being. When you have peace of being, death no longer becomes an issue. You've dealt with the issue of death in your life. Most people do not, right? And that's midlife crisis. You start to get closer and you start to think and like, I'm not ready. There's a bit of panic, right? Sometimes people aren't even aware of what it is that's stressing them. And that's the other point. With way of impeccability, we're enhancing our ability to be aware through discernment, through understanding, and most crucially, it is about practicality. Every single thing that you do in way of impeccability is geared towards application,
Yeah.
application, application. So, yes, technically I'm a philosopher. Technically, I'm also a psychologist, right? I don't know, this is a
Mm-hmm.
new term, but it's very valid. Somebody who creates a psychology
Yeah.
system. I've done that. But it's all about practicality. And for me, I'm not interested in theoretical stuff. That's why when I wrote out I wrote a whole book series, but it's a novel, it's a story, because I wanted to demonstrate all of this, the A+ philosophy, the philosophy of appropriateness, way of impeccability, capital H sharing, all of it. I wanted to show it, not just talk about it and write a treatise, that's boring stuff, right? So it's about practicality. So, I would say I'm a practical philosopher, yes. But, I'd rather say I'm an applier. Yes, I'm a doer. That's more important, because otherwise it's all meaningless without application.
Absolutely.
All meaningless, absolutely meaningless. So wonderful. Do we
are
we on time? Go ahead, Bina,
yes,
say again.
Yes, I was just saying that one of the perks of doing Way of Impeccability and Mourners program is to going to bed every single day instead of accountability in appreciation. This is a big, huge change in my life. When you go to bed, instead of just like, okay, oh, I have to do that, and of course tomorrow I'm going to take care of all these things, but you will learn to live with attunement, and then the day will end with the appreciation instead of accountability.
Yes. And start. We live in appreciation. When we shift to living in appreciation, this is an incredible skill and ability and a competency, a life competency that we acquire. Yeah. How many people do you know that truly live in appreciation?
Yeah.
Other than yourself. I assume that you do.
Yes. Jill is quite wonderful in being in appreciation. That's where your high energy comes from. Right?
I do have high appreciation for life, for people. There's stress in life. There's too much. I want more. I want to live my best life. And as a mom of 2 kids, I want even better life. And they go back to school tomorrow, so I'm feeling really good. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Mourners in the Nobelia household. Yes.
Exactly.
Okay. So we are in the time.
Bye-bye.
Yes.
Well, hold on. We're not saying goodbye yet. You got to tell us how we can contact you. Go ahead.
Nobelia.org/connect. Very simple.
Yes.
Beautiful.
And and also you can join him on Facebook also.
Yes, the Facebook group.
Because we have a huge group, Sassy. You can just join that group and you will see that, okay, every day we are doing live together. Yeah. And of course, we are doing the capital R reading of different books. So right now we are...
Yes. And that's
we are involved in a very huge project.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
And that Sassy is SASI.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thank
Sassy
you
group. Yeah.
so much.
Thank you so
speaking
much.
with you all. Enjoy your week and make it the best week ever. Until next week.
Yes.
We'll talk. Bye-bye.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.